Be talking about trapped emotions. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the facts, and then we can just openly talk about the trapped emotions and what that means for us. Okay. So scientifically, the definition of emotions are complex physiological and psychological responses to stimuli that involve subjective experiences, cognitive processes, and behavioral expressions. They are produced by the brain's limbic system and involve the release of neurotransmitters and hormones which affect mood, perceptions, and behaviors. So that's the scientific part. So the simple version, emotions are feelings that we have inside us, like happiness, sadness, anger, fear, frustration. They help us understand and react to certain situations. So the way I see it, it's like spidey senses. So basically, when you have that feeling when you walk into a room, or you sense something when you're talking to someone and you're in their presence, our body signals us. Sometimes we tend to like, oh, that's a weird feeling, and brush it off, but they're letting us know when we're in danger, or if we're safe. When we're safe, we know we're comfortable, we feel loved, we feel welcomed. And then when we're in danger, we feel anxiety, stress, like, oh, this feeling is. So our emotions and feelings, to me, that's like our own human superpowers. It's something that we're able to really use in our everyday life. But sometimes people feel like it's a curse to be able to feel those feelings. So, so emotions are very important. Now, trapped emotions. Trapped emotions are unresolved emotions, emotional energies that become lodged and trapped within the physical body. These emotions can stem from past experience, traumatic trauma from the past, any events, unprocessed feelings, and they may become trapped when they are not fully expressed, acknowledged, released, and at the time of the initial experience. So basically, when you have some feelings that you feel, let's say the traumatic experiences, sad news, upsetting news, sometimes we tend to want to suppress and not acknowledge that, not really take it in. We get upset about sadness, grief, and we don't want to process them because they don't feel so good. So when we don't process them, we allow them to get stuck within our body. What we don't know is that they go to specific organs in our body and they really affect us. Like that feeling of, let's say if you're sad and you want to cry, but not everybody likes to cry. So what do? They hold on to it, and then they have that feeling in their throat that tightens up, and you just can't talk, you can't breathe, and you're just holding that all in, and then your body explodes, and then you start bawling at unprofessional times, like the times you don't expect it, but you're suppressing it so much, and it's really aching in your body, and it just comes out when you're like, oh my goodness, why am I doing this right now? It's because we didn't allow it to process when we needed to process it. So that's how they become trapped. That's how they affect us eternally, and that's how we express them in a crazy way. It's the same thing with happy emotions as well. Sometimes there's some good news or happiness that we want to celebrate, but depending on our families, maybe our religion or our belief, we feel guilty, right? We don't want to say it out loud, and we just hold on to that, and that too can manifest in different ways. Yeah.
So you don't want to be like tore down from what they would say or criticize or think.
Yeah. So you keep it hush hush instead of expressing it, instead of just, because happy emotions, they flow through us easier. You know what I mean? We love to feel it, to share it. But if you are in a situation where you don't feel like, somebody may be pessimistic about it, or they may be someone who would not celebrate with you, you tend to have those emotions trapped as well. So, so trapped emotions are unresolved emotional energies that become lodged or trapped within the physical body. These emotions can stem from past experience, traumatic events, or unprocessed feelings, and they may become trapped when they are not fully expressed, acknowledged, or released at the time of initial experience. So, when an individual experiences intense or overwhelming emotions, the body's natural response is to process and release these emotions through healthy expressions or release mechanism. However, If the emotions are suppressed, denied, or unacknowledged, they may become trapped within the body's energy system, often in specific areas or organs. So there's this doctor, his name is Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he's the author of Emotion Code. And he had shared his story, and in the book he shared this one story with one of his clients. He usually has like an audience, and he calls somebody, you know, from the audience to come up, and he tries to identify a trapped emotion, and we'll get into that in a little bit. And then he tries to release that emotion. He has to try to figure out how to identify it. Well, he was able to do this muscle testing on this individual in front of everybody. And she was a lady that was having hip problems, and she had a cane. And doctors said there was nothing that they could really do for her, that she would always have that cane, and she would always need it and rely on it. And he was able to discover that she had a trapped emotion in her hip. So he was also able to discover that it was something that she trapped when she was an infant. So the mom was sitting in the audience, so the doctor looks at the mom and says, "Mom, do you have any idea what this would be, what this trapped emotion would be?" The mom was crying, and she said that when she was a baby, we did cloth diapers, and she didn't realize she was crying. She was trying to console her. She decided to change her diaper and realized that she pinned the pin into her hip, like her actual skin. And that was, you know, of course, the reason why she was crying. So that was like, wow. So she was able to identify that. He was able to help her release that. A few months later, he had told her that she no longer needed the cane to go up the steps. Like, she was still having problems, but she did not rely on the cane in the way that the doctor said you'll never be able to walk without that cane.
Right.
So Dr. Bradley Nelson,
Meditation.
you guys can look him up on YouTube. He's really, really good in sharing his story and many other stories when it comes to trapped emotions. Yeah, so this is actually one of the emotion codes, and it talks about different organs in our bodies and what actual emotion can be trapped, like in the heart, small intestines, in our spleen, in our stomach, in our lungs, in our colon, liver, gallbladder, kidneys, bladder, glands.
We could pass that around too.
Yeah, we could definitely pass that around. And these are all the emotions that can affect those organs. So that's like really interesting to know. He does a really good job explaining how to use the emotion code and how to identify and release them. He does a really good job at that.
I'm gonna get his book.
His book is
Yeah.
really good. I didn't get his book, but I listened to the free audio version on YouTube. It was like 6 hours, so I broke that down.
Oh, I'll do that then.
Yeah, I was able to break that down that way, and if I like the chapter, I just re-listen to it again later on. Yeah. Yeah, so that's really good. Let's see, happy emotions. So happy emotions are less likely to become trapped because they are typically expressed and released more easily than negative emotions. Positive emotions such as joy, love, and gratitude tend to flow freely through the body, leaving little residue of energetic imprint behind. However, it is still possible for positive emotions to become trapped if they are suppressed or denied due to eternal factors and eternal beliefs, which we went over. So, but overall, the key to preventing emotions from becoming trapped is to cultivate emotional awareness, healthy expressions, and effective coping mechanisms for processing and releasing emotions in a timely manner. So some of the things that we've done before is journaling, self-care practices, but there's also like this body scan where you sit down and you really sit down and listen to your body. You sit there and you write down where you feel pain, different parts of your body, and you try to really, I used to have like this pain that would come out of nowhere. I would just be walking, sitting, it didn't matter what I was doing, it was a sharp pain. I knew where that pain came from. When I was 11 years old, I was running down the stairs with a hammer. Someone had asked me to bring my hammer. So I was running down these old wooden steps. They weren't even stable. I was running down with this hammer, flipped, like just tripped down, slid a few steps down. The hammer went all the way up and then landed on my foot. Yeah, and it was just like terrible. It was like I had broke it was in a cast, blah blah blah, with everything. So I realized that that pain was coming from there, even from, you know what I mean. So I listened to this book, identified that, and I was able to release that emotion. And I noticed, like with my feet, I have
do that too. I do it too.
Just gonna make sure.
Right.
But I've noticed that I've
Walking a
not
couple
felt that
different ways.
pain, that cramp. It would be so severe, and it would just come in awkward moments.
Oh, wow.
You know, I'll be walking or
I
sitting
get
in a
weird
meeting,
pain.
or it's just,
Oh, I can't wait to experiment and figure it
yeah.
out. I get weird back spasms, and I'm like, what the heck is that?
It's
You know?
something. It's definitely something.
I, pain in here. Oh, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it.
So I was able to identify that, and I've noticed for a very long time I have not felt that pain. And another thing I recognized, that I would always fall. I would just walk and just trip, and then I'm done for like weeks because my foot is swollen, and I'm like, what? I can give you guys a whole bunch of scenarios where I fell. And I thought that would stop when I was an adult. No. It did. After I did this release, I have not had any incidents, right, Justice?
Talking about trapped emotions.
I you know what? I did fall down the steps.
Oh, okay, that was, yeah.
But you know what? I did fall down the
Yeah.
steps,
It
but
wasn't
instead
as
of
bad.
injuring my foot, it was my arm. So I don't know.
Okay.
My
Adjusted to make sure that foot wasn't getting hurt again.
yeah, because I would find myself laid up with icing my foot for no reason. I would just be walking down a straight path and just fall. Yeah, but not anymore.
I'm gonna get the truck.
What else can we do? The other thing, so muscle testing. So the emotion code talks about muscle testing. There's different ways of doing it. It'd be nice if I can use you.
You
but-
can use me.
Okay. So
Alright.
I still have to practice with this, but I'm just gonna give you an example.
I can sit wherever. Okay.
So they have this muscle testing, doctors, chiropractors, there's so many health practitioners that are now using this to identify lots of things, actually, things that you may be allergic to. But specifically here, we're doing it for emotions, trapped emotions. But what are you doing?
She's just putting this on here.
Okay.
Oh, you can put it on there. You can use yours.
No, you put. I'm setting it up over here.